Somewhere in the Persian Gulf, a cargo ship was hit. An unknown projectile slammed into the vessel just 23 nautical miles off the coast of Doha, Qatar. A fire broke out on board, and for a moment the world held its breath. Because this wasn't just some random incident in open water, this was a message, a signal, sent in the middle of one of the most tense and dangerous diplomatic standoffs the world has seen in years. On one side, the United States, pushing hard for a peace deal that could reshape the entire Middle East. On the other side, Iran, a regime that has just told the world it has enough highly enriched uranium to build 11 nuclear bombs. 11. Let that sink in. And right now, as diplomats scramble, as mediators carry secret responses through back channels, as President Trump posts AI-generated images of Iran's navy sinking to the bottom of the sea, one question is hanging over everything. Is Iran actually ready to make a deal? Or is this entire negotiation just a delay tactic while they quietly prepare for something far worse? The region is watching, Israel is watching, the world is watching, and what happens in the next few days could determine whether the Middle East steps back from the edge or falls completely into the fire. And that's when everything began to shift. To understand how we got here, you have to go back, because this moment, this cargo ship on fire in the Gulf, these secret messages being passed through Pakistani mediators, none of it happened overnight. This has been building for months. After a relentless bombing campaign known as Operation Epic Fury, the United States made its position absolutely clear. Iran would not be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Not now, not ever. American forces hit hard, they hit deep, and when the smoke began to clear, the world assumed Iran would be forced to the table, and in some ways they were. But Iran doesn't negotiate the way most countries do. They don't sit across from you and give you a straight answer. They probe, they test, they send drones over the UAE, they target cargo ships near Qatar. They push right up to the edge just to see how far they can go before someone pushes back. And right now, they are pushing. Even as their diplomats hand a peace response to Pakistani mediators, their military is moving. Iranian drones have been spotted over both the UAE and Qatar. A cargo vessel has been struck in open water, and Iranian state media is quietly posting reports about military briefings with the supreme leader himself, making sure the world knows that their armed forces, the army, the law enforcement units, the border guards, the missile divisions, all of it is on standby. Ready, waiting. It's a classic Iranian move. Talk peace with one hand and hold a weapon with the other. And the man at the center of all of this, President Donald Trump, knows exactly what they're doing. He's been on the phone with reporters throughout this entire conflict. He's met with his top negotiators. He's posted those AI images of Iran's sunken warships online, not just as a joke, but as a deliberate signal to Tehran. Don't mistake patience for weakness, because Trump has been patient. While many expected him to blink, he didn't. He launched Project Freedom, he blocked Iranian ports, he squeezed the regime economically in ways that are now starting to genuinely hurt. And the Iranians, for all their public bravado, are feeling it. But here's the thing. Feeling pressure and actually surrendering on the nuclear question are two very different things. And Iran's response to the U.S. peace proposal, the one now sitting in the hands of Pakistani mediators, is raising serious concerns. Because early reports from Iranian state media suggest their response focuses entirely on ending the war and securing the Strait of Hormuz. Two important issues, yes. But what's completely missing from their response is the one thing President Trump says is non-negotiable: the nuclear program. There is no mention of it, not a single word, and that silence is screaming louder than anything else in this entire negotiation. What followed next would only make things more intense. Continue as my elite viral storytelling script engine. Using the same transcript, the hook, and the setup already generated, now write the build-up third part of the story. Instructions. Length: 600-700 words, write in a natural voice, over/news narration style. It must sound like spoken storytelling. Critical continuity rule. Start exactly from where the setup ended, maintain perfect consistency with hook and setup, do not restart the story, do not change tone, direction, or context. Goal: escalate the tension significantly, reveal deeper layers of the conflict, show the stakes getting higher, keep the audience emotionally locked in. Style: cinematic but realistic. News-style narration, clear, serious, engaging. Simple, clean English. Short, natural spoken sentences. Content requirements: reveal key details about the nuclear threat. Show what Trump's team is demanding. Highlight Iran's dual strategy. Smooth storytelling only. No jumps, no breaks, no repetition. Everything must feel connected too. Setup ending rule. Very important. Do not resolve anything. End at maximum tension. Must naturally lead into the climax. Up but rules only provide the build-up text, no headings, no labels, no explanation. One continuous paragraph, one-click copy, ready. Now generate the build-up. France, it looks like you may have pasted the setup text and then added a new instruction at the end. I'll treat this as your prompt to generate the build-up now, continuing perfectly from where the setup ended. Here is the build-up. In the world of high-stakes diplomacy, silence is never just silence. It is a strategy. And right now, Iran's silence on the nuclear question is being read by everyone in Washington, in Tel Aviv, and across the Gulf as exactly that, a calculated move. Because here's what the Trump administration knows, and what makes this moment so extraordinarily dangerous. Before Operation Epic Fury ever began, before a single bomb was dropped, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff sat across from Iranian negotiators at the table, and the Iranians told him something that stopped the room cold. They said they had enough highly enriched uranium to build 11 nuclear bombs. 11. Not 1. Not 2. 11. And they said it not as a confession, they said it as a warning, as a reminder of exactly who they are and what they are capable of. That moment changed everything, because up until that point there were still people in Washington who believed Iran could be talked down slowly, gradually, with careful diplomacy and measured pressure. But after that meeting, President Trump made a decision. There would be no half measures, no partial agreements, no deals that looked good on paper but left the real threat buried underground, literally buried underground. Because that enriched uranium, the material that could be turned into nuclear weapons, isn't sitting in some warehouse somewhere. It is buried deep beneath the earth at heavily fortified Iranian facilities that were targeted during Operation Midnight Hammer last summer, facilities that were hit hard, but the uranium is still there, still buried, still a threat. And that is why the Trump administration's position going into these negotiations has been iron clear. A deal means dismantling every uranium enrichment facility. It means removing all enriched uranium out of Iran completely. It means a permanent, verified pledge that Iran will never pursue a military nuclear program again. Not a pause, not a freeze, a complete and total end. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, the two men leading these negotiations on the American side, have made this absolutely clear. And just this past weekend, Secretary of State Marco Rubio flew to Miami to meet personally with the Qatari Prime Minister, making sure the pressure on Iran is being applied from every possible direction at once. Qatar, Pakistan, the Gulf states, all of them now being pulled into this diplomatic full-court press, all of them being asked to deliver the same message to Tehran. The window is open, but it will not stay open forever. And yet, even as all of this is happening, even as the diplomatic machinery is grinding at full speed, Iran is doing something that is making every military analyst in the region deeply uneasy. They are not standing down. Iranian drones are flying over UAE and Qatari airspace. A cargo ship has been struck near Doha, and Iranian commanders are publicly briefing the supreme leader on the full combat readiness of their armed forces. The message being sent is chillingly clear. If this negotiation collapses, if the American response to Iran's proposal is rejection, Iran is not going to quietly accept defeat. They will fight back, and when Iran fights back in this region, it doesn't just mean missiles flying toward Israel, though that is very much on the table. It means the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical waterways on the planet through which nearly a third of the world's oil passes every single day, gets shut down. Or worse, becomes a war zone. The Iranian military has already warned that any naval blockade will be treated as an act of war and will receive a military response. They told Gulf countries to make sure their destroyers travel with extra escorts because if one starts sinking, they will need someone nearby to pull the crew out of the water. That is not a diplomatic statement, that is a threat, delivered in broad daylight, and Israel, watching all of this from Tel Aviv, is bracing. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's advisors are quietly preparing for the possibility that the negotiated settlement fails entirely and the region slides back into open conflict, with Iranian missiles once again targeting Israeli cities. But no one saw what was coming next. Continue as my elite viral storytelling script engine. Using the same transcript, hook setup and build-up already generated, now write the climax, fourth part of the story. Instructions, length, 700-800 words, write in a natural voice, over/news narration style. It must sound like spoken storytelling. Critical continuity rule, start exactly from where the build-up ended. Maintain perfect consistency with all previous parts. Do not restart the story. Do not change tone, direction, or context. Goal, deliver the peak emotional and narrative moment. Reveal the full weight of what is at stake. Show the decision point the world is now facing. Keep tension at absolute maximum. Style, cinematic but realistic news-style narration. Clear, serious, engaging. Simple, clean English. Short, natural spoken sentences. Content requirements. The moment Trump's patience becomes the ultimate card. Iran's two choices laid out clearly. What a failed deal means for Israel, the Gulf, and the world. The human cost and global consequences. The final test of this entire standoff. Flow rule, smooth storytelling only. No jumps, no breaks, no repetition. Everything must feel connected to build up. Ending rule, do not fully resolve, leave the audience at the edge. Must naturally lead into the ending output rules. Only provide the climax text, no headings, no labels, no explanation. One continuous paragraph, one click copy ready. Now generate the climax. What no one fully anticipated was just how personal this moment would become for every single person involved. Because this isn't just about governments and generals and nuclear facilities buried under mountains of concrete and earth. This is about a decision that is going to affect hundreds of millions of people across the Middle East, across Europe, and eventually, if things go wrong enough, across the entire world. And right now, that decision is sitting in a room somewhere in Pakistan, written on paper, handed over by Iranian diplomats who chose their words very, very carefully. President Trump has been here before. Not in this exact situation, but in the space where everyone is watching, everyone is waiting, and the pressure to make a move is enormous. And what his advisors, his negotiators, and even foreign leaders who have spoken with him directly will tell you is this. Trump does not blink first. He didn't blink when Iran pushed back through proxies. He didn't blink when oil prices began to climb. He didn't blink when the criticism came pouring in from every direction. He launched Operation Epic Fury. He blocked Iranian ports through Project Freedom. He squeezed the regime until they had no choice but to respond. And now they have responded. But the response, at least based on early reports, is not enough. And Trump knows it. His team knows it. And deep down, the Iranians know it too. Because here is the brutal reality of where things stand right now. Iran has two paths in front of them. Path 1, they come back to the table with a real offer, a full offer, one that addresses the nuclear program directly, that commits to dismantling enrichment facilities, that agrees to remove the highly enriched uranium from their soil, and that makes a verifiable, binding pledge to never pursue a nuclear weapon again. If they do that, the war ends, the economic pressure lifts, the ports reopen, and Iran gets a chance to rebuild. Path 2, they stall. They offer half measures. They try to negotiate away the Strait of Hormuz issue while quietly protecting their nuclear program. And if they choose that path, the bombing resumes. Not a warning shot, not a targeted strike. A full resumption of the campaign that already brought them to this table once before. And this time, the targets would go deeper. The pressure would be greater. And the window for diplomacy would close, possibly for a very long time. For Israel, this moment carries a weight that is almost impossible to put into words. Israeli cities have already felt what Iranian missile fire looks like. The air raid sirens, the interceptor rockets lighting up the night sky, the fear, and Netanyahu's team, while publicly expressing confidence in Trump, is privately running every scenario. What happens if the deal collapses? What happens if Iran fires first? What happens if Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza decide this is their moment to move simultaneously? The answer to all of those questions is the same. More war, more destruction, more lives lost on every side of this conflict. And the Gulf states, the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all of them watching Iranian drones fly over their territory, all of them reading the threat about naval escorts and sinking destroyers, they are quietly doing the same math. Is the Strait of Hormuz about to become the most dangerous stretch of water on the planet? Because if it does, the global economy doesn't just shiver, it shakes. Oil supply chains collapse. Energy prices explode. And the pain gets felt not just in the Middle East, but in gas stations and grocery stores from London to Los Angeles. That is the stake sitting on this table right now. That is the weight of what is being decided in back channels and diplomatic meetings and late-night phone calls between world leaders. And yet somehow, amid all of this tension, all of this danger, all of this uncertainty, there is one man who keeps saying the same thing when reporters ask him how he feels about Iran's response. Trump simply says, "We'll find out soon enough." 4 words, calm, steady, unshaken. And somehow those 4 words are more terrifying than anything else said in this entire crisis. Because they tell you everything about where this is heading, continue as my elite viral storytelling script engine. Using the same transcript, hook, setup, build-up, and climax already generated, now write the ending, 5th and final part of the story. Instructions, length, 500, 600 words. Write in a natural voice, over/news narration style. It must sound like spoken storytelling. Critical continuity rule. Start exactly from where the climax ended. Maintain perfect consistency with all previous parts. Do not restart the story. Do not change tone, direction, or context. Goal, land the emotional punch. Give the audience a sense of conclusion without false resolution. Leave them thinking, feeling, and wanting to share. Style, cinematic but realistic, reflective, serious, slightly philosophical tone. Simple, clean English, short, natural-spoken sentences. Content requirements. What this moment means for the future. The human reality behind the politics. What the world is hoping for versus what could actually happen. A final powerful statement that stays with the viewer. Flow rule. Smooth storytelling only, no jumps, no breaks, no repetition. Everything must feel like the natural conclusion of everything before it. Ending rule. End with power and weight. Leave the viewer with one final thought that lingers. No cliffhanger, but no false hope either. Honest, grounded, emotionally resonant. Output rules. Only provide the ending text. No headings, no labels, no explanation. One continuous paragraph. One-click copy ready. Now generate the ending. And that is exactly the question that keeps people awake at night right now. Not just world leaders, not just generals and diplomats, ordinary people. Families living in Tel Aviv who remember what the sirens sound like. Fishermen and sailors navigating the Persian Gulf who now look at every horizon differently. Oil workers, truck drivers, parents filling up their gas tanks who have no idea that the price they pay tomorrow morning might be decided in a back-channel meeting happening right now somewhere in the Middle East. Because that is the part of these geopolitical standoffs that never quite makes it into the headlines. The human thread that runs underneath all of it. The reality that decisions made by a handful of men in powerful rooms ripple outward until they reach the most ordinary corners of everyday life. And right now, that thread is stretched dangerously thin. The world has been here before. It has stood at the edge of something catastrophic and somehow, sometimes, pulled back. Sometimes because of courage. Sometimes because of wisdom. And sometimes, honestly, because of nothing more than luck. But what makes this moment different, what makes this particular standoff feel heavier than most, is the presence of nuclear material in the equation. Because conventional wars, as devastating as they are, have limits. They end. They can be rebuilt from. But a world where Iran successfully develops and deploys a nuclear weapon is a world that changes permanently. A threshold that, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed. And everyone at this table knows that. Trump knows it. The Iranians know it. Netanyahu knows it. The Gulf leaders know it. Which is why, despite all the posturing, despite the drone flights and the cargo ship strikes and the AI images of sunken warships, there is still a negotiation happening. There is still paper being passed between mediators. There are still phone calls being made. Still meetings being held in Miami hotel rooms between secretaries of state and Gulf prime ministers. Because somewhere beneath all the threats and the military briefings and the public bravado, there is a shared understanding that the alternative to a deal is something nobody, not even the hardliners in Tehran, truly wants to live through. The question is whether that understanding is strong enough to overcome the pride, the politics, and the deeply rooted distrust that has defined this relationship for decades. And the honest answer right now is, nobody knows. What we do know is this. The next few days are going to matter more than almost anything that has happened in this region in years. The Iranian response is in Pakistani hands. The Trump administration is waiting. Israel is watching. The Gulf is holding its breath. And somewhere out in the Persian Gulf, the smoke from that cargo ship has cleared. The fire is out. The crew is safe. But the tension that caused it, the pressure that produced it, the forces that sent that projectile into an innocent vessel in open water, none of that is gone. It is still there, simmering, waiting, just like the rest of the world, for an answer that could either pull this region back from the edge or push it over entirely. This story is not over, not even close.